I'm the State's Attorney of Bureau County. For those of you who don't have one, I've left a copy of the formal charges that we filed in this. What I'd like to do is just one at a time, maybe everybody could just state their name and who they are. All right, well, at this time, I'm sure all of you have heard, and it's our sad duty to announce publicly today that the Kahla Lansing case has come to a tragic conclusion. As a result of a joint investigation by a task force of law enforcement agencies, including the Spring Valley Police Department, the Bureau County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, the Illinois State Police, and the State's Attorney's Office, an investigation that was very intense and concluded, well, actually is still going on, but it concluded in all major respects overnight this past night. As a result of information that the law enforcement agencies gathered, particularly in the last 24 to 48 hours, the suspect in the case was identified. His name is Jeffery D. Rissley, R-I-S-S-L-E-Y. He's 28 years old, of Benton Harbor, Michigan. He was determined to be in St. Joseph, Michigan, as a result of the investigation that the authorities gathered, and FBI agents in Michigan located him shortly after midnight this morning and arrested him and instituted interviews with him. Sheriff Jack Narshewski, Chief Deputy John Thompson, Investigator Doug Burnaby of the Spring Valley Police Department, and Special Agent Bill Hamill of the State Police Division of Criminal Investigation flew to St. Joseph, Michigan in the middle of the night in the sheriff's plane so they could conduct the interviews, which occurred most of the night. As a result of information gathered there and other information that we had gathered, we determined that Kahla's body was located in an abandoned barn in Jackson County, Iowa. A team of investigators, FBI agents and DCI agents, went to that scene in Jackson County. In fact, they're still there at that scene and recovered Kahla's body. As a result of all this, at 5 o'clock this morning, I filed formal charges against this defendant, charging him with first-degree murder and aggravated kidnapping. He's charged with abducting Kahla on Saturday night, the 28th of September, and he's charged with killing her in the course of that aggravated kidnapping. I don't know that we're absolutely certain at this point where the murder occurred, but I think we're pretty confident, and the investigation is still to determine it, did in fact occur in Jackson County, Iowa. Illinois law provides that if a murder occurs outside the state and it arises from a forcible felony in Illinois, then the Illinois State Court has jurisdiction over that murder. So that's why we're able to charge him with first-degree murder in this case, in addition to the aggravated kidnapping. Obviously, in order to maintain that jurisdiction and to prove our case of murder, we'll be required to prove that the kidnapping occurred, which I obviously believe that we'll be able to do. As a matter of fact, I'm confident that all of the evidence that has been gathered by what I can only characterize as the most intense law enforcement investigation I've ever seen. The evidence in the case is overwhelming. I'm confident I can say today that we'll obtain a conviction for both of these counts. The possible penalties in this case for first-degree murder particularly is a prison sentence of at least 20 years, no more than 100 years, or a life sentence without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. And I think I can also safely say today, and I guess I'll take this opportunity to announce that I will be seeking the death penalty in this case. Kahla was a child that was under the age of 12 years, and Illinois law provides that if a child under the age of 12 is murdered and the crime is accompanied by extreme heinous and brutal activity, then death penalty is a possibility. We obviously are convinced that that's what happened, and we will of course be seeking the conviction and then a death sentence in this case. I will open it up to any questions that anybody has of me or any of the other people here. Perhaps one of the investigators, John? Chief Deputy John Thompson of the Sheriff's Department.
We've determined through our investigation and through admissions made by the defendant that we believe it was through strangulation. I'm sorry, we're not at liberty to go into any more detail than that.
Was her body mutilated, though? We understand it was a brutal death.
I'm sorry, I can't comment on it.
At all?
No.
Was it brutal?
No,
Well,
I can't.
I can tell you that it was obviously brutal and heinous under the law. That's why we're able to believe that he's eligible for the death penalty. But I don't think it would be appropriate for us to characterize details of the investigation other than to say that it was a very heinous kidnapping and crime. There was unfortunately a sexual assault involved of the child, and she was strangled, as the chief deputy said.
What led you to the suspect? How did you find the suspect?
I'd like to let Officer Investigator Burnaby speak with you about that.
Why don't you tell them who you are?
I'm Douglas Burnaby, Bernabi. I'm an investigator with Spring Valley. Obviously, we can't go into a great amount of detail as to what led us to the individual in Michigan. To say that information we received regarding the red truck was very helpful, and we were able to place him in Illinois and followed his tracks to Michigan.
How does this tie in with the sexual assault the day before Kayla turned up missing in Galesburg?
I think we'd probably have to defer that to the authorities in Western Illinois.
But there is a link between the two cases.
We're looking at that link, yes.
Was there any link to the pickup?
Galesburg?
He was taken into custody by the FBI pursuant to a warrant out of Knox County, Illinois, regarding a sexual assault that occurred shortly before Kayla's disappearance.
In Galesburg?
Yes.
He's been charged in Knox County with a Class X felony of aggravated criminal sexual assault for sexually assaulting an 11-year-old girl on Friday, September 27th of 1991, and the authorities in Knox County issued a warrant after that investigation was completed and the charge. By the time that the information assault even came to the attention of the authorities in Knox County, he was gone, and he obviously went from Knox County to Bureau County.
He has a history of sexual assault. Have you served time in prison for it?
Yeah.
So, Dr. Reddy, he was convicted in 1983 on 2 counts.
I'd like to give you your name, please.
My name is Jack Narszewski. I'm the sheriff of Bureau County.
Can you spell your last name, Jack?
Narczewski. The defendant has a criminal history dating back to 1983, and he has served time in a penal institution in the state of Texas.
For what?
Sexual assault.
Of a child?
Yes.
Of a child?
Yes.
In
Was
Texas?
Kayla sexually assaulted?
According to the defendant, he picked her up here, had a brief conversation with her, went for a ride around Spring Valley here, and then headed north and then west back into Iowa.
He ended up with the barn.
Yes, where they spent the night. Where they spent the night together.
Did he say how he got Kayla into the car?
Just by general conversation. There, he was parked, and they had a conversation in the car, or in the truck, and they just went for a ride.
Did he promise her anything or offer her anything?
Offer soda.
And he was in a red pickup truck?
Yes.
When he picked her up?
Yes.
Is it owned by him?
Yes.
So he didn't know her, this is just a
No.
random...
Yes.
I can tell you that the law enforcement officers involved checked every possible conceivable thing that you might imagine, and everything kept leading back to the fact that somebody came outside the area into our town and did this, and that's how it turned out. And it appears that he employed the rather typical device that these kind of pedophile abductors do, and that is to win the attention and the favor of the child, and to put on this kind of false kindness and false act to get the child into the truck, and that's what happened. She was a 6-year-old girl, and he was able, I'm sure from experience with other children, not abductions, but other molestation acts, knew just what he had to do to get a child in the car, and that's what happened here.
How many other...
Somehow there was still an explanation for it. Unbelievable how this thing brought this community together, and the law enforcement effort that's taking place. I think all of these law enforcement officers and
Let's keep back.
Clear an aisle.
Get away from the elevator.
kidnapping occurred here. The murder occurred in Iowa, but we have jurisdiction over it because the murder arose from a kidnapping that originated in Bureau County. And under the Illinois venue statute, that gives us jurisdiction over the murder. Also, we have a death penalty here in Illinois. The state of Iowa does not. And it's obviously my feeling, as well as the feelings of this entire community, that this defendant should be sentenced to death for what he did. So it's our intention to proceed on the first-degree murder charge as well as the aggravated kidnapping charge. We expect to obtain a conviction on both charges, and then we'll proceed to a death penalty hearing, at which time we'll ask either the judge or jury, whichever the defendant elects to decide that issue, to impose a sentence of death in the case.
Do you think he'll take the stand at all?
Oh, I would have no idea. I wouldn't speculate at all on what the defense would do.
Period.
Well, there were opponents of capital punishment, I think, before this case happened. I think the public opinion polls that are always run is something like 75-25. I suspect that right now in Bureau County it's about 100% in favor of capital punishment. There's no doubt. It's very frustrating when you hear that in the state of Texas he was convicted of apparently 2 child sexual abuse related offenses, and according to the preliminary information we have, I don't have all the records yet, I've ordered them, but according to the preliminary information, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison by the judge in that case. And I have no idea about Texas law, of course, every state's different, but he apparently was released after only serving 3 months of a 10-year sentence. And that, obviously, if it's true, is outrageous. I'm gratified to say that Illinois does not have such a system. I think we in Illinois can be proud that we have a very tough criminal code. We have one of the most conservative parole possibilities in the country. In Illinois, you have to serve at least 1/2 of your sentence before you can even apply for parole. So if somebody were to, for example, receive a 10-year prison sentence in Illinois for whatever crime, they would have to serve at least 5 years before they can even be considered, and might very well serve the whole 10 years. It depends on such things as good behavior. So we are entitled to have a jury that will impose the capital punishment where it is appropriate, and on the other hand, will not impose it where it's not appropriate. That's up to them to decide. I'm totally confident in the jury system in Bureau County. I don't, at this point, see any reason why there'd have to be a change of venue. That request is going to have to come from the defendant and his attorney. That hasn't happened, of course. If it does, there'll be a hearing before Judge Wampler, who is the presiding judge in this case. We'll obviously oppose any attempts to change venue. However, if venue is changed, all that means is that the jury will be selected from a different county. We'd probably still try the case here. Obviously, the same personnel are involved. If the case was, if a jury was selected from a different county, that doesn't present any particular concerns to me. I think that jurors and people everywhere think the same, have the same attitudes, evaluate evidence the same way, and I can only say to you, when this jury sees the evidence that we've gathered in this case, they're going to conclude beyond all possible conceivable doubt that he's guilty of murder. And in my opinion, they will see this as a case that's absolutely appropriate for death penalty. Mark, if
devastating effect, but I think right now a lot of people in Spring Valley are feeling what a lot of people across this country are feeling in regards to quite frankly, the judicial system. There's just a general feeling as to what happened and how this man got here, and the fact that he had served 3 months out of 10 years, that, as one lady said to me, a grandmother said, there's so little justice in America, and it's a real feeling. And she compared what happened here with what is going on in Washington today about the Supreme Court hearings, and some people might not think that has a relationship, but it seems to me that, and to a lot of people here, that a lot of time is being wasted in Washington right now doing the kinds of things they're doing when they should be talking about the kinds of things that ought to fix our judicial system.
People talk about I can't believe this happened around here. It's just, it makes me sick.
Hey, I could see, you know, the pain in so many more people's faces, and with the family getting up and sharing some of their concerns, it made it a little bit more difficult. But
Was the most difficult service I've ever done, ever.
Fortunately, we had some pastor friends call us and say they'd be thinking about us and praying for us. So.
Now, were you Kayla's regular pastors?
No.